Welcome back, folks. I'm Frizz, and today I'd like to take some time to talk about environmental exploration. While going through small cramped corridors and dungeons is what a lot of people think of whenever they imagine a TTRPG session, I find that exploring through the wilderness comes up just about as often depending on the campaign. There's a lot that goes into running a game in the wild, more than I can reasonably cover in this video, to be honest, but there are some specific things regarding Pathfinder 2e and just, general advice from me that I think might help spice up exploring the wilderness. The most general aspect is that being able to use a variety of skills when out in the wild makes things so much more interesting for a lot of the party. It's obvious that nature and survival are, as skills, are going to shine in a natural environment. But if only those skills are useful, then that makes things way less interesting for NPCs who haven't invested into those skills. If you're faced with a lot of natural obstacles and you just keep on having to wait around for your druid or your ranger or your weirdly nature-obsessed rogue to deal with the problem, that's alright some of the time. But allowing for different skills to suboptimally deal with problems lets people feel like their contributions are at least allowed. For example, if you're tracking a creature from its tracks, the most useful skills are almost certainly going to be survival or nature. But allowing PCs to use society or performance to see if they know any stories regarding what these kind of tracks could be caused by can help those PCs feel like they're actually contributing in any way. Naturally, though, those checks should be against a higher DC and probably won't give as much useful information even on a successful check when compared to survival or nature. But the key is, they're actually able to attempt those checks. Despite what I just said, it's also really important for the people in the party who have invested into nature or survival to feel like their investments are rewarded. By that, I don't mean that those obstacles should be trivialized completely. If someone is really leaning into using survival, trivializing all uses of the skill or hand-waving them doesn't actually reward that player in the slightest. I personally find that my PCs are way cooler when they're, they actually get pushed in an area of their expertise. If you just glaze over tracking a creature, that kind of doesn't make tracking them feel really cool. So if you draw attention to how a character is tracking someone over a hard-packed stone, then that makes that character actually seem cool. But if you just go from point A to point B, then that's honestly kind of boring. I know that I'm just saying that GMs should put obstacles in front of their party that reward their investment into particular skills, which is not any kind of new advice. However, I think that a lot of the time, people don't always really think about how overcoming natural environments is actually really impressive. It's real easy to think about how, badass it is to fight a dragon, but most of the time, we don't think about how impressive it actually is to be able to find a route to hike over a mountain all on your own. For the record, it's really damn impressive. Speaking of which, physical distance is another thing that I really recommend hammering home. I don't know how many people have actually walked or hiked long distances who are watching this, but it's really hard. The sheer scope of the distance that adventurers have to travel over foot is actually pretty absurd by our modern standards. And if someone in the party is actually really good at making people faster over land, pointing it out by really, making it very clear that the distance they're traveling is really long makes them feel a lot cooler. This may or may not be a little bit of a dated reference, depending on, your demographics, but the sweeping helicopter shots in the Lord of the Rings movies really help show the distance that they're traveling, and it shows the scale of the undertaking they're on. If those shots didn't exist, and just, the important scenes were in the movie, then the journey itself would feel like an afterthought. I know that this isn't going to be important in most campaigns, and that's very fair. If no PC is interested with hiking over mountains or whatnot, then it's really just not that important for the campaign to focus on. But if someone in the party is interested in it, then exploration really shouldn't be glazed over. Rewarding someone's investment in exploration with trivializing it entirely because of their skill just isn't fun, so finding the line between challenging those who specialize in wilderness survival and not completely excluding people who haven't is the key. And if you don't think that moving around through the wilderness is hard, you should try backpacking with as much gear as adventurers carry. Thanks for watching. I've been wanting to play a character who specializes in survival for a while, but the right campaign just hasn't come up yet. Anyways, what has your experiences been with going out into the wilderness in Pathfinder 2e, or do you have any tips? Let me know in a comment down below, and while you're down there, you can always subscribe or join up as a member or something. My members, enable me to buy more Pathfinder books, which helps make this channel. Regardless, until I see you next, live a wonderful life.